Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So, after the banishment of Banu Nadir from Medina, we mentioned how they settled, those Jews, they settled in the lands of Sham, and the leaders like Salam ibn Abi Huqayq and Huyay ibn Akhtab, they settled in Khaybar. Now in the same year, which is the 4th year of Hijrah, in Sha'ban, which is the month before Ramadan, as you know, the other battle of Badr happened. The other battle of Badr. We know the famous battle of Badr. This is called Badr al-Akhirah, the other battle of Badr. Basically, it is the appointment which Abu Sufyan had declared against the Prophet ﷺ and the Muslims, if you remember, at the end of Uhud. At the end of Uhud, when he came and the Prophet ﷺ was on top of the mountains, and he said, Maw'iduna, our meeting place is next year at Badr. Okay? Because they are going to fight again. So in Sha'ban of the 4th year, which is 11 months or 10 months after Uhud, because Uhud was in Shawwal of the 3rd year. So 10 months after, the Prophet ﷺ gathered an army of 1,500 men. Okay, 1,500 men. Now you can see the significant increase in numbers, because last year in Uhud, they had 700 men. They had 700 men. So this is almost double the number. It is actually double the number. From 700 to 1,500, which shows you how Islam was growing. That's the point you have to remember also now. Islam is still growing. Okay? So with an army of 1,500 men, the Prophet ﷺ is set out for Badr, and he put Abdullah ibn Rawaha in charge of Medina. Abdullah ibn Rawaha. And Abdullah ibn Rawaha, we're going to mention him again and again. And he was one of the famous poets of the Prophet ﷺ. Other than Hassan ibn Thabit, Abdullah ibn Rawaha was also a poet. And also Abdullah ibn Rawaha, for those of you who have studied the fiqh of Ramadan, whenever we discuss the issue of can you fast while you travel or not, while you're a traveler, the hadith which says that Anas bin Malik, he said, we were traveling and none of us will be fasting because of the difficulty of traveling, except the Prophet ﷺ and Abdullah bin Rawaha. Okay? So the Prophet ﷺ, he left Abdullah bin Rawaha in charge of Medina, and he set out with an army of 1,500 men. And also, because Badr was famous as a marketplace, the Arabs would meet there once or twice a year to trade. So the Prophet ﷺ and the Muslims, they went out to fight and to trade also. So they carried whatever goods they wanted to trade with or in also. On the other hand, or on the other side, Abu Sufyan, he left Mecca and he had prepared an army of 2,000 men. Now again, you should notice what? The difference. Last year in Uhud, it was how many men? 3,000. Now he only gathered an army of 2,000. Okay? From the Quraysh. And they only had 50 horsemen, where in Uhud they had 200. Okay? And he himself, Abu Sufyan, did not want to go out, except other than the promise he had gave the Prophet ﷺ and the Muslims, who are his enemies, that we're going to meet next year. Okay, so it was basically the Muslims won Badr, and they won the beginning of Uhud, and then the tables changed. So the kuffar, they managed to kill a lot of Muslims. So they were still not pleased. They still had to fight and win clearly. That is why he said, we'll meet in Badr next year. But when the time came, he himself did not like to go out. But he set out with an army of 2,000 men until he reached a place called Usfan, which is a valley outside of Mecca. And then Allah put in his heart and cast into his heart fear. Fear. So he turned to his army and he said, Ya ma'ashara Quraysh, O people of Quraysh, Inna hadha al-'am 'amu jadbin. This is a year of hunger and famine. We don't have much wealth. We don't have much food. وَلَا يُصْلِحُكُمْ إِلَّا عَامٌ خِصْبٌ. It is only better for you to fight in a year where you are rich and there's abundant food and you're strong. تَرْعَوْنَ فِيهِ الشَّجَرَ تَشْرَبُونَ فِيهِ اللَّبَنَ وَإِنِّي رَاجِعٌ فَارْجِعُوا. So I'm going back, so go back with me. And they decided to go back. They could not. They chickened out, basically. They chickened out. Okay, they could not come out and fight. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and any other Muslim for that sake until the day of Qiyamah, that Allah casts fear, ru'b, in the hearts of the enemy of Islam. Okay, if you're a proper Muslim, Allah casts fear, puts fear into the heart of the enemy. So they went back. But of course, that was now disappointing and humiliating for Abu Sufyan. So he sent Nu'aym ibn Mas'ud. He sent Nu'aym ibn Mas'ud al-Thaqafi or al-Ashja'i, and he said to him, I had promised Muhammad and his companions sallallahu alaihi wasallam to meet them at Badr. And the time has come, but this is a difficult year for us. And I don't want to go out and then Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions, they will overcome us, basically. They will overcome us. So, I'll give you 20 camels. It's like someone telling you, I'll give you 20 cars. I'll give you 20 camels that you go to Medina and you try to create infighting between the Muslims. So they become demoralized, so they don't want to fight. So Nu'aym bin Mas'ud, he rushed to Medina, in fact, and he found the Muslims were preparing to go out for war. And he said to them, Laysa hadha bira'i. This is not a good opinion of yours to do. Did not Muhammad go out? Did not his companions go out and were killed? And he told them, Abu Sufyan, in fact, he has gathered a massive army against you. If you just go out, you're going to be destroyed. But the Prophet ﷺ, he said, وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ لَأَخْرُجَنَّ وَإِن لَمْ يَخْرُجْ مَعِي أَحَدٌ. He said, I swear by the one in whose hand is my soul, I will go out to fight even if it's I or me by myself. So the Prophet ﷺ set out and his companions set out with him. Nobody listened to Nu'aym bin Mas'ud. And they reached Badr. Obviously, Abu Sufyan was a no-show. And they sat there, the Muslims camped for 8 days, waiting for Abu Sufyan. And a man called Makhshiyu ibn Amr al-Damri, he showed up. We mentioned this guy before. He had given the Prophet ﷺ his word, okay, that Banu Damra, his people, in the battle of Waddan, if you remember, it's a while now, we talked about it. They said, we're not going to fight you, we are your allies. He showed up and he said, Ya Muhammad, O Muhammad, Wallahi inna kunna qad ukhbirna annahu lam yabqa minkum ahadun. We were told that none of you Muslims remained, meaning after Uhud. فَمَا الَّذِي جَاءَ بِكَ إِلَى هَذَا الْمَوْسِمِ. Who or what made you come out to this meeting at this time? Like we said, Badr was a place that would go and trade. Did you come here to meet the Quraysh? Meaning in war. And the Prophet ﷺ said, Na'am ya akhi bani Damra. Yes. Na'am ya akha bani Damra. He says yes. And if you want because he's talking like that. The Prophet ﷺ said, if you want, I'll give you back your treaty, so there's no more peace between us. And then we'll fight you until Allah judges between us and you. So he said, La wallahi ya Muhammad, no by Allah, O Muhammad, ma lana bidhalika minka min haja. We don't want to do that. I'm just asking. You know those people of, I'm just asking. But they ask some of the craziest things. Right? So the Prophet ﷺ and the Muslims, they stayed in Badr for 8 days. And because Abu Sufyan was never going to show up, they did their trade. And they actually, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed them a lot. They became very profitable in that trade during that time. And they returned to Medina. Okay? And this revived the status of the Muslims among the Arabs again. Because remember, Badr was a place for all the Arabs to come and do trade. So all the Arabs saw what? They saw that the Muslims came and were ready to fight, but the Quraysh, they chickened out. They did not show up. So this, alhamdulillah, it cancelled out the bad image which had come to the Muslims after Uhud. Like you see, this man from Banu Dhamra, he said to the Prophet ﷺ, what? We were told that all of you are killed. Which was not true, obviously. Right? So this is the event about Badr al-Akhirah, the other Badr. The other Badr in the month of Sha'ban. So obviously Ramadan came and the Muslims fasted. Ramadan, this is the 4th year now. And this is the 3rd Ramadan they're fasting. The first Ramadan was during Badr, then came last Ramadan, and then this Ramadan. Okay? After Ramadan comes Shawwal, the month of Shawwal. In the month of Shawwal of the 4th year, the Prophet ﷺ, he got married to Salama, who 4 months ago or 5 months ago now, her husband Abu Salama died, if you remember. After Uhud, he was sent out in the expedition with the army, but he had suffered wounds in Uhud. And he came back, he was successful, but he died after that. Right? We told the story last time. So obviously Salama had to wait or sit for the iddah, the waiting period. A woman who's widowed, she has to wait in before she can get married again. Which is how long? I don't want the sisters to answer, I want the man to answer. How long is the iddah of the woman who's widowed? I have 3 months, I have 4 months, I have a year. The man, let the man answer. Oh, you're the one who's going to die, so I don't care, let my wife sit. At least you should know in your grave, you check your watch in the grave. Is it time for her to get married or not? It's 4 months, Sam, sister. 4 months and 10 days. أربعة أشهر وعشرة. Okay? 4 months and 4 Islamic months. Hey, people, listen to me. 4 months, 4 Islamic months. Okay, not 4 Gregorian months of January, February, March, April, no. Because you lose another 5 days, you add another 5 days. 4 months and 10 days. 4 months and 10 days from the day the husband dies. أربعة أشهر وعشرة أيام. Okay? So she had finished her iddah. Salama radiallahu anha. And we talked about Abu Salama a few times. Abu Salama was the brother of the Prophet ﷺ by breastfeeding, by radha'a. They were breastfed by the same woman, Thuwayba, also Hamza. Okay, so Hamza and the Prophet ﷺ and Abu Salama, they were brothers. And also Abu Salama, his mom is Umayma Umayma bint Abdul Muttalib. So he is also a cousin of the Prophet, or a cousin of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yes. Okay. Abu Salama, he died, and you know that Abu Salama and Salama, they are the first family in Islam to make hijrah, to leave one land to go to another land for the sake of Allah. So they are special. All right. So after she finished her iddah, and they had children, they had Salama radiallahu anhu. And you know Salama is a name which is used for both males and females. Okay, Salama is a name used for both males and females. So they had Salama, obviously that's why she's Salama and he's Abu Salama. And they had Umar, who was a very young boy. He was actually 3 years old at this time. And Umar is famous because Umar was the one who's in the hadith and the manners of eating. He said, كنت غلام عند النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. I was a young boy in the house of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. وكانت يدي تطيش. And my hand would move everywhere in the plate. That is why the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said, يا غلام سم الله. Oh child, when you eat, say Bismillah. وكل مما يليك, and eat what is next to you. Don't eat the other ends of the plate until you get there. That is Salama. وكل بيمينك, and eat with the right hand. That is who? That is Umar, the son of Abu Salama. He was 3 years old. And then there was Zainab and there was Durra, 2 girls. Zainab and Durra. So she had 4 children. Now that's tough. That's tough. And she was a young woman, by the way. Somehow, some of us, we have this idea Salama is this old woman. No, she's not, man. In fact, as you're going to hear right now, she was extremely gorgeous. She wasn't beautiful. That's low level. That's low level. Beautiful is low level. She wasn't attractive. It's just one notch higher. She wasn't gorgeous. She was extremely gorgeous. Okay? That is what you're going to hear in the hadith right now. Aisha used to say, when the Prophet ﷺ married Salama, that was the saddest day of my life because of her beauty which had been described to me. Sisters, you feel threatened? Yes. The fear is real. The fear is real. Aisha says that was the saddest day of my life because of the beauty which had been described. She says, so when the Prophet ﷺ actually married her and I went and looked at her, she was double what they had described. Anyway, Salama, Jazakallah khair, radiallahu anha, if you remember in the story, when Abu Salama was dying, they were crying and the Prophet ﷺ said, don't cry and don't wail, don't say these things. When someone is dying, the angels are here. Make good dua. Okay? And then he died, Abu Salama radiallahu anhu, and the Prophet ﷺ, he taught them, when any of you is stuck with a calamity, any calamity, you lost your loved one, you lost your business, you lost your whatever it is, you say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, Allahumma ajurni fi musibati wa khuluf li khayran minha. Oh Allah, reward me in this calamity of mine and give me something better. She says, so I had to follow what the Prophet ﷺ said. So I said the dua. Then I said to myself though, وَأَيُّ الْمُسْلِمِينَ خَيْرٌ مِنْ أَبِي سَلَمَ though? Who's of these Muslims is better than Abu Salama? It looks like he was an exceptional husband. Not like some of us. You know, we're trying, we're not there yet. It looks like he was an exceptional husband. For her to say that, because Abu Bakr is alive, Umar is alive, Uthman is alive. Imagine all those guys are alive, yet she says, who can be better than Abu Salama? Right? Anyway, she says, I said, who can be better than Abu Salama? And we were the first family. So not just that he was good, in terms of his deen also. We were the first family to make hijrah. Okay? Anyway, after she finished her iddah, in that month of Shawwal, and this hadith which is narrated later on by Umar now, Umar ibn Abi Salama. Okay, in Sahih al-Bukhari, he said the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he sent a message to her proposing to her. He sent a message proposing to her. فقالت, so she said, مرحبا برسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. She said, مرحبا, welcome to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. And then she said, إن فيها خلالا. But you should tell the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, I have some things. Issues. Today we call them issues. Number one, she said ثلاثا, 3 issues. أنا امرأة شديدة الغيرة. I'm an extremely jealous woman. Those of you smiling, I can tell why you're smiling, sisters. She said, I'm an extremely jealous woman. And he has wives already. That's why she said that. Because the Prophet ﷺ is married to Aisha. Before Aisha was who? Sauda. Sauda was the first woman after that, Khadija. And then Aisha, and then Hafsa. Very good. Hafsa. And then Zainab bint Jahsh. No, sorry, Zainab bint Khuzaymah, who died in a few months, who will die in 1 or 2 months actually, who died already. So he had 3 wives already, the Prophet ﷺ. So she said, welcome to the Prophet ﷺ, but I have 3 qualities. Number 1 or 3 issues, I'm very, very jealous. And he's married already. Number 2, أنا امرأة مسبية أي عندي صبيان. I have children with me, not 1, not 2. I have 4. 99% of you brothers here and anywhere else, you hear of a sister, she has 4 children, you're bouncing, you're not getting married to her. That's a fact. You don't want that responsibility. It's a fact, right? And it's not haram for you to be like that. But I want to point that out to you. She said, I have children, not 1. I have 4. 2 boys, 2 girls. طيب. And وأنا امرأة ليس لي من أوليائي أحد شاهدا يزوجني. And I have another problem. I want you to listen carefully, you women. I am a woman. I don't have any wali with me around. Nobody's here to marry me anyways. Today we have a huge problem. Muslim sisters. You have some of those sisters, the wild, crazy thinking. You know, she wants to get married. She randomly picks any brother and says, Akhi, you wanna be my wali? And the guy, cause he's jahil also, he says, yeah. And he gets them married. I've seen this a few times. Especially with all due respect to everyone. Especially with our revert sisters. You're wali because your family, your father, your brother, maybe you have a son. If they are not Muslims, your wali as a revert is who? Is the Islamic authority. If you live in an Islamic land, is the Islamic leader, or who he appoints, the Islamic judge. In the countries we live in, is the head of the Islamic center, or the imam. That's your wali. Even you, Muslim sister, let's say you're born Muslim, but you have no other family, Muslim family male, the imam becomes your wali, the imam of your local masjid. You don't go picking a random Joe. I've seen this. She goes and says, Akhi, you wanna be my wali? And he says, yeah, I want to get married to you also. So I want to be the wali and do the nikah. Well, I have seen this. I'm not even joking. It's a big problem we have. Because right after that, problems happen. And when problems happen, she doesn't have anyone to run to. One of the points of a woman having a wali is when you have big problems, you have someone to turn to speak for you, to advise you. But if you pick that random Joe, or let me say random Joe, random Abdullah, and then you don't even know where he lives, who he is, then you have problems. Now you run to the Imam of the Masjid who can't help you. So Salama says, I have 3 issues. Number 1, what is number 1? I'm very jealous. Number 2, I have children. Musbiyya. And number 3, I don't have a wali. So now listen to the Prophet ﷺ when they got this message. When the Prophet ﷺ got her message, now he went himself to Salama. Because some issues, they're not solved over the phone. Some issues they're not solved over the phone. Those of you who are married, this side and this side. Some issues are never solved over the phone. You just make it worse. There's no emotion in text message. Especially if she has, I'm telling you, if she has bad thought, you have bad thought of her, you just think everything she sends is she's plotting to make you the enemy. You are the enemy. The Prophet ﷺ went by himself. That's the point. And he said to her, أَمَّا مَا ذَكَرْتِ مِنْ غِيرَتِكَ. As for what you mention of your ghira, you're jealous. فَإِنِّي أَدْعُ اللَّهَ أَنْ يُذْهِبَهَا عَنْكِ. I'll make dua to Allah to remove it. There's nothing better than dua, guys. Women of Islam. This is Islam also. Huh? Okay? The Prophet ﷺ said, I'll make dua. And you know the dua of the Prophet ﷺ is accepted. And there's nothing better than dua. Every problem is solved by dua. And as for أَمَّا مَا ذَكَرْتِ مِنْ سُبْيَتِكَ, what you mention of your children, فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ تَعَالَى سَيَكْفِيهِمْ. In fact, he said, Allah will take care of them. One narration said, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, وَأَمَّا الْعِيَالِ فَإِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِ. As for the children, they're my children. You man up. And number 3, he said, as for you not having a wali, then no one from your family, whether they were here or not, alive or dead, would ever say no to me. Now this is only for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, this is only for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You brothers, there's no nikah without a wali. You have to know that. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why is Salama saying this? Because she knows there's no nikah without a wali. Whoever gets married without a wali, you're committing zina. That's not nikah. There's no nikah without a wali. But anyway, when she heard this, there was proper responses. You can't say anything after that. Problem is solved. Very simple. She said herself to her son, and this is the oldest son, Salama. She said, Zawwij Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Get the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam married to me. He was around 10, 11, 12, 13, around there. He was not very old. Umar was very young. Umar was around 3. But like we know, this is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He doesn't even need a wali. Okay? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he doesn't need a wali. He is the wali of all the Muslims. He is the wali of all the Muslims. Okay? So that is how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he got married to Salama radiyallahu anha. Okay? Now you sisters, the issue of polygamy is part of our deen. We're talking about the deen here. Okay? You brothers, the issue of polygamy is part of our deen. It should not be abused and it should not be looked down on. Because you can't look down and reject something which Allah has made permissible. You have ghira, you say, man, this is discomforting, this is not good. All of the wives of the Prophet ﷺ said the same thing. But they never rejected it, they never opposed it, because they know that can lead to kufr. And you Muslim man, the issue of polygamy is not like drinking coffee, bro. It's not. It sounds fabulous, attractive, nice, fantasy-like. It's not, bro. It's a challenge, it's responsibility. She has 4 children. That's what the Prophet ﷺ used to get married to. She's divorced already. He did not get married for the enjoyment of it, no. There was also always a greater goal. Now, Salama, like we mentioned, she stood out. I hope that point is clear. She stood out for 2 things. Her extreme gorgeousness, if that is a word. And also, her very high level intellect. She was a very, very intellectual woman. Very smart. Extremely smart, in fact. We're going to see soon. Okay? We are going to see soon. And that is why the Prophet ﷺ got married to her. Okay? That is why the Prophet ﷺ got married to her. The best of both worlds. That's what me and you would never dream of. I'm talking to brothers now. She's extremely gorgeous and she has a proper brain, proper mind. Balanced. She can think. She can solve your problems. She can plan for you. She can strategize. She can analyze. She helps you as a human being. You grow. If you happen to have either of those, you can choose one. Up to you. But if you have both of them, man, there's nothing else you want after that. And she was one of the best Muslims. That's the best combo, bro. What else do you want? Right? Anyway. Salama radiallahu anha. So when they got married, something very funny used to happen though. Because it's part of the seerah, we have to mention it. So when the Prophet ﷺ got married to her, now he would come home and he wants to enjoy with his wife. He wants to consummate the marriage. But whenever he'd come home, he would see her, she's busy with the children. Especially the youngest one, Zainab, the girl. Whenever he'd come home, he would see her busy with the girl, Zainab. And she's not ready, whatever. So the Prophet ﷺ, because he was shy, he would just come, say salam to his family, play with the child. Khalas, then they go to bed, whatever. So he did not consummate the marriage for a long time. Until Ammar ibn Yasir. Ammar bin Yasir was the brother of Salama by breastfeeding. They breastfed from the same woman. He got whiff of the situation that the Prophet ﷺ, whenever he goes, he wants to consummate the marriage, he can't. Because the woman is busy with the children. So one day he went there and he pulled the child from her mother and said to her, "What's wrong with you?" To Salam, was his sister. He said, "Go get ready for your husband." And he took the child to take care, to what you call today, babysit the child. When the Prophet ﷺ came, he looked around and he said, "Ayna Zunab, Ayna Zunab." Instead of Zainab, used to call her Zunab. Right? And she said, Ammar came and took her, sorry. And that is the day the Prophet ﷺ consummated the marriage with his wife. Which shows you again, he did not get married just for the desires. It shows you a lot, in fact. Right? It shows you a lot. Tayyib. Salama radiallahu anha, she was known for her intellect and her beauty. That is why Aisha radiallahu anha, she felt threatened. She says, "I've never been sad like the day I heard the Prophet ﷺ got married to Salama." And that is why you'd hear the story. And she also a very good cook also. She also a very good cook. She knew how to cook. You sisters want to bring this talk. I don't have to cook for you. I don't have to cook for you. Okay, bro. That is another fiqh discussion. But a proper woman takes care of her husband. And a proper husband takes care of his wife. You get it? You've heard of the hadith. One day the Prophet ﷺ was in the house of Aisha, eating. And then a young boy came with a plate of food. And that was from Salama. Okay? That was from Salama. It was food and the plate was covered with a piece of cloth. Okay? Now this is the day of Aisha. When the boy came, knocked, the Prophet ﷺ said, "Come." And she said, the boy said, "This is food from Salama." Aisha became very angry. She took the plate and broke it with the food. You never heard of this, bro. Listen, it's going to help you. Those of you who are married, those who want to be married, you got to use your mind properly once you're married. She took it and broke it. And there was the Prophet ﷺ sitting and other people, not just the two of them. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said what? He did not scream, "What's wrong with you? What kind of woman are you? You and your tribe and your father, and you cast everyone out. Some of you men, you walk like that, You don't have a mind." He smiled and he said to the people to explain to them, He said, غارت أمكم. Your mother, meaning Aisha, she became jealous. And he picked the food up, because you don't waste food. He picked the food up and they ate that food. And then he said to Aisha, you'll take a plate from your plates, from your utensils, and give it to her. A plate for a plate. Proper justice. You have a lot to learn before you get married, bro. I'm telling you. All of you are not married. Those of you who are married also take notes today. The Prophet ﷺ, listen. Number one, he made an excuse for his wife. You got to protect your wife. He said, غارت أمكم. Your mother is just angry. Don't worry. So he excused her. And it's true. And then he picked up the food. And then he said to Aisha, though, you broke her plate, you have to give her your plate now. That is complete justice. We talked about this last week. If you transgress over people's rights, their property, even though you might not be sinning in front of Allah, you have to give people their rights. You broke her plate, you give her your plate. But they used to do that. Those wives, they used to do that. They would instigate those things. So I know today, the Prophet ﷺ is in the house of Aisha. They would cook food and send it there, just to make her angry. And if he's in the house of Hafsa, someone else would cook food to send it there. It's called healthy competition. That is what it's called, okay? Anyway, this is the time the Prophet ﷺ and Salama, she lived a long life. She lived a very long life until when Hussein was killed, radiallahu anhu. She was still alive until those days. So she lived to 90 years old. Salama lived to 90 years old, and she died in the year 61. The same year Al-Hussein radiallahu anhu was killed. Tayyib. So this is the story of the marriage of the Prophet ﷺ to Salama in Shawwal of the 4th year. Shawwal of the 4th year. Now, we continue on. Now the 5th year started. The 5th year after Hijrah. And in the beginning of the 5th year, there was a few small events before we go to one of the most major events. One of them is the battle against, the battle called Ghazwatu Dawmatul Jandal. Dawmatu al-Jandal. Basically in Rabi' al-Awwal of the 5th year, the Prophet ﷺ, he got the news that the Bedouin Arabs were gathering an army at this place called Dawmatul Jandal to come and attack the Muslims. Okay? And they used to rob whoever passes by those roads or those ways. These people were gathered. So they were also highway robbers or bandits, as we call them. Okay? So the Prophet ﷺ, he called on some of the Muslims to volunteer. And he put in charge of Medina the Sahabi Siba' ibn Urfuta radiallahu anhu. And he went out in an army of 1,000 men. The Prophet ﷺ went out in an army of 1,000 men. And they used to travel at night, which is not usual. Usually they travel day. They used to travel at night and camp during the day so that they don't get spotted. Okay, so that those people don't know they're coming. And they had someone from Banu Udhra who was their lead to show them the way which they can surprise those people. Called Madhkur, his name was Madhkur. When they got close to this place, Dawmat al-Jandal, they attacked, surprise attack on those people, and they got their cattle, and those people, they ran away in every direction. Okay? And the Prophet ﷺ, when he reached there, they had all disappeared. He stayed there for a few years. For a few days. He stayed there for a few days. And he took one or two of them as captives because they were behind. And he asked them, where are they? They said they all ran. They heard you came and they all ran. And that you had taken their cattle or their animals. So the Prophet ﷺ gave them da'wah and they became Muslim. And then the Prophet ﷺ, he came back to Medina. Now, why are we mentioning this, what it seems to be a very small event? It has two very great significances. Dawmatu Jandal. Number one, it was the first battle or the first expedition which was the farthest from Medina. This was the longest distance the Muslims had ever covered. And more importantly, it was the direction of Sham. The Muslims until now, they are focusing on this direction against Makkah, against the Quraysh of Makkah and some of the Bedouins. Now they had gone to the direction of Sham for the first time. Okay? And you know at this time, as we talked before, Sham was under who? It was under the Romans. Very good. It was all under the Romans. Okay? That's number one. Number two, this long distance, why this event was significant? It was a preparation for the Muslim army to let them know that sooner or later, there's going to be a long distance fight. Okay? That is why Dawmatul Jandal was a bit important. And then after that, in Rajab of the same year, after a few months, 2-3 months, the Wafd, the emissaries, the ambassadors from the tribe of Muzayna, they arrived. The tribe of Muzayna, they came to the Prophet ﷺ in Medina. They came in Rajab of the 5th year, and 400 men came. 400 men. From among them was An-Nu'man ibn Muqrin or Muqarrin, Qurrat ibn Iyas, and Bilal ibn Harith. And they gave the Prophet ﷺ the pledge of allegiance of Islam. And the Prophet ﷺ, he made for them something special. He told them, Antum muhajirun haythu kuntum. You should go back to your land and you'll be considered muhajirun, immigrants, even though you're still there. The only muhajirun up until this time are the people who leave wherever they live and come to where? To Medina. That's the only muhajir. Muhajir is whoever leaves all the other places and come and reinforces and makes the Muslims strong in Medina. That's the Hijrah then. There's only one Hijrah. Before it was Habasha and then again Habasha. Now the only Hijrah is where? If you're a Muslim, you have to go to Medina. But these people, the Prophet ﷺ made them special. Muzayna. He told them, go back and Allah will still give you the title and the reward of Hijrah. You are muhajirun wherever you are. Farji'u ila amwalikum, go back to your wealth and your people. In the Muslim of Imam Ahmad, An-Nu'man ibn Muqarrin, he says, we went to the Prophet ﷺ with 400 men. And the Prophet ﷺ, he welcomed us. And then some of us, we said, oh Messenger of Allah, we don't have food. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said to Umar, give them food. And Umar said, Ya Rasulullah, I only have a few dates remaining. I don't have much, meaning there are 400 people. I don't think it'll be enough for them. وَمَا أُرَاهَا تُغْنِ عَنْهُمْ شَيْئًا. I don't think it'll be enough for them. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, go and give them the dates. So Umar, he said, he went with them to the storage room which he used to keep his dates. He said when I reached there was dates the size of a camel. And they took and they ate all of them, 400 men, and more was left after they ate before they ate. This is one of the great things why we mention Muzayna. Allah brought miracles for these people. Okay? There was miracles for these people. And at the same time, one of their leaders, Bilal ibn Harith, the Prophet ﷺ, he gave him a piece of land. In fact, a big piece of land. Okay? And he said, asking someone to write. He said, write Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. هذا ما أعطى محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. This is what Muhammad, the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم, has given Bilal ibn Harith al-Muzani. أعطاه معادن القبلية. He gave him this land which is called قبلية, جلسيها وغوريها, the high part of the earth and the low part of the earth. All this land belongs to Bilal ibn Harith. وحيث يصلح للزرع من قدس ولم يعطيه حقا مسلم. This is all belonging to him. Okay? So the Prophet ﷺ clearly, he loved these people. And why? Because Allah loved these people. That is why there's a hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, he said in Sahih Muslim, وَالَّذِي نَفْسُ مُحَمَّدٍ بِيَدِهِ, I swear by the one in whose hand is Muhammad's soul. Ghifarun, the tribe of Ghifar, where Abu Dharr al-Ghifar is from that tribe. And the tribe of Aslam. And Abu Burda al-Aslami is from that tribe. And Muzayna, this tribe. Ghifar and Aslam and Muzayna. وَمَنْ كَانَ مِنْ جُهَيْنَ or Juhana, and those from Juhana. Okay, or Juhayna. There's still the family today called Al-Juhani. You know the reciter called Abdullah Al-Juhani. Probably from that family. He said these four tribes, Ghifar, Aslam, Muzayna and Juhayna, وَمَنْ كَانَ مِنْ Muzayna, خَيْرٌ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ, in front of Allah, they are so much more high. Yawm al-Qiyamah, on the day of judgment, from the tribes of Asad and Tay and Ghatafan. Which shows you there were people who they had a position. So this is what happened with the tribe of Muzayna and those who came with them. And Nu'man ibn Muqarrin and Bilal ibn Harith and the rest, radiyallahu anhum. Now, what comes next in the same year is that we're going to jump to the month of Dhul Qa'dah. So obviously from Rajab, Sha'ban came, Ramadan came, the Muslims fasted again, and then Shawwal, and then Shawwal, and then Dhul Qa'dah. Okay, there's a huge event, very important event which happened in the Dhul Qa'dah of that year, which will continue inshallah after praying Salatul Isha.